Well, it was a grinder of a game. I don't think I thought we were creating some really good looks on the offensive end. It's hard. Teskey sits right in the middle of the lane. He never moves. And he's huge. But I thought we got from some of our better pull-up players, guys like Jordan, Ryan, Darius, I thought we got some looks that, quite honestly, we'd take. Steve sort of broke the ice, hit a couple face-ups, and that helped. But I think the story of the game was just our defensive effort from the beginning of the game all the way through. We probably played 38 and a half minutes of as good of defense as we could play, outside of maybe the first minute to start the second half. But we beat a really good team. I'm sure they're a little bit tired. 3 games in 3 days in the Caribbean is not easy. And, so we feel very fortunate. And, we move on to an ACC opponent on Friday night. We have a quick turnaround, don't have an off day. And so we can't feel like we've been crowned at all. It's a long season. We got to grow from this.
For those with questions, we'll get microphones to you.
Big night from Jordan Moore. You looked excited, and what was his impact?
Well, I love seeing how he rebounded the ball on both ends of the floor. To have 3 guys in double figures. I mean, I'm used to Dwayne, Steve. I'm used to this year as well. Sometimes there's not enough rebounds to go around, but we played such good defense that they missed a ton of shots, and we didn't give them, for the most part, a lot of second opportunities, except for a couple of big kids around the rim. It's just hard to keep off sometimes. But Jordan, he's a talented guy. I thought he played on both ends of the floor. To only have 1 turnover, have the ball in his hands a lot. He missed some shots he normally makes, but he also sealed the deal on a couple, an and one. But I come to expect that.
Did you think this was Steve's best defensive game of the year?
It had to be. It had to be, and it's not so much on his guy as it is just trying to, help our on-ball defender with those thousands of ball screens they set. And I felt like Xavier was slipping all over the place, losing his dribble a little bit. I didn't see that on tape. And he's a guy that we have a ton of respect for, and both Steven and Malik did an outstanding job of keeping him, for the most part, out of the lane.
They're averaging like 81 a game, 42% from 3. They didn't come close to either one of those marks. What was the focus of your defense tonight?
Well, I think it starts with Xavier. And the deeper he gets in the lane, the more it puts your off-ball defenders in a bind. How much do I help in? And, in the Bahamas, he'd just get in the lane and spray it out. And Livers and Brooks, they couldn't miss. And so all we talked about was keeping him out of the lane, and then hard closeouts. Hands are up early. I really didn't think they generated a whole lot of good looks. And for our defense to do that to what I think is a very tough team to defend with the way they're shooting the ball, and Teskey coming along on the interior as well as outside, our defense grew up a little bit tonight.
Chris, the atmosphere for an early December game, pretty intense. Can you kind of sense how hungry this fan base is for this season?
Yeah, and I can sense how hungry our team is in the locker room. We knew it would be a big game. Our guys aren't. They hear the noise. They hear we haven't played anybody. Whatever our schedule's ranked, and it's like they have a belief in themselves. I am happy for our fan base. They've gone through hell and back, and for them to be able to enjoy nights like this with the 3 guys honored at halftime. Makes me happy.
Fighting over top of all those ball screens that Michigan was setting, just how important was that going back to your defensive plan? Like you were talking
it's huge, and it's hard. And he's very, very quick. He'll reject a lot of ball screens. He'll act like he's using it and then drive the space and kick. Teams have tried to go under, and Xavier's so clever. He just plays peekaboo and figures out which side you're trying to catch him on, and then he goes down the lane with that Kareem hook. And so that responsibility fell on our point guard defensively, and also fell on our 5-man. Those are the primary guys that are involved, and we might not have been perfect, but we were damn close.
What was the key to shutting off all the other action happening on those ball screens away from the ball?
Well, I think it's not equated to a quarterback in the pocket. If he has time, if there's not a lot of pressure on the ball handler in those screening actions, you have to be disruptive. We've got to use our size, both with the 5 and the defensive point guard, so that you can zone up with the other 3 defenders. And they've got to help cover Teskey rolling. They've got to identify where the shooters are. And a good safety or safety linebacker, they can play 2 receivers because they don't just pick one. And that's what you need on off-the-ball defense when a ball screen occurs. And they set so many of them, it's constantly changing. So I give our guys a lot of credit for locking in on the game plan, but most importantly, executing it.
Coaches, in the second half, they went on a little bit of a run, but it seemed like you guys found an answer. Jordan specifically, beat a couple other guys getting to the hoop. Was there something there you saw, or was that open all night?
I wouldn't say it was open, but we certainly made a concerted effort to ball screen with Teskey's man. We do it one way, they do it the other. Teskey is, when we set a ball screen with our 5, he's 10 feet off. And if you can set a clean one and the ball handler can be patient, which is hard because our guys are conditioned, they're always getting jumped in practice, so they want to leave a little early. If you're patient and you come off of it and your defender, your on-ball defender is getting picked off by the 5, there's nobody between you and the hoop. He's 10 feet away. You have a pull-up. They try to get a little bit more aggressive in the second half, and a couple times we turned the corner and got all the way to the basket.
Chris, you talked about players hearing the noise about the schedule, et cetera. How did that fuel them, and what do you think they draw from this thing?
I mean, you probably have to really ask them. I didn't make it some rallying cry too much. But, I think, beyond the schedule, it's like, hey, this team lost 8 of the last 10 a year ago, and this team didn't. This team didn't. That's why we identified them. That was Team 105. Their time is up. Kristen Cunningham's no longer here. And these group of guys have worked really hard, and they want to put their mark on this season. And so, I thought we took a positive step tonight.
Early in the game, when neither team was shooting very well, it seemed what kind of lifted you guys was the ability to get in transition offense a little bit, get some second chance points. Was that something that you specifically said, all right, like we're not really getting our looks in the half court, so we're going to have to take advantage
Well,
of this?
I mean, we always want to run. We always want to push the pace and attack. But you can't do that if you're constantly taking the ball out of the net. And I've told our team repeatedly, and, in the first 7 games, we haven't been as good as we need to be. But we're going to have nights where we can't score, for 4 or 5 minutes, where you go on, like we did start the game, 3 or 4 possessions where you got a good look. You're playing a very disciplined team that blocks out. You can't get a second shot. And if you can't defend, you're not going to allow yourself to stay in the game. And so I was happy with the way that we won tonight because it didn't become, it wasn't because Ryan went 7 for 8 from 3, and Jordan, couldn't be stopped. We did it because we were resilient on the defensive end, whether we were making our shots or missing.
You kind of alluded to this, but your team shot super well as you prepared for this game. Is this the game you expected to happen tonight?
I don't know what I expected. I expected Michigan to be very tough to score against because Teskey sits in the lane. I expected us to have, those 10, 12-foot pull-ups that, stat guys now would say that's not a great shot. That's what I expected. I didn't know if they'd go in or not. And I expected it to be a very tough challenge to keep Simpson out of the lane. But my expectations aren't driven on the results. I just know what's going to happen, and we've got to figure out a way to get the ball, put it in if we miss a shot, and then defend it on the other end.
We'll take 2 more.
Do you expect your family to give you a little bit more respect for being number 1 now?
No, I'm still dad to them. I appreciate the question.
1 more. Anyone? Right here.
What was your overall takeaway of Twan Howard as a coach?
I think I stand by what I said in the press conference. He may not have been here, but I just think, the humility that he has to hire a guy like Phil Martelli. A lot of coaches wouldn't do that, feeling like they're getting second-guessed. You got a guy that has been through the wars and has coached a ton of games. Obviously, if you last in the league as a player for 20 years, you have high character because they weed the jerks out. And you have to have a mind for the game. And because your body breaks down, as I know, even though I never played in the league. And so you can see the respect level that his players have. They play hard for him. They've got good talent. Some guys that were role players a year ago have really stepped up and become even better players. And so he's doing a lot right. Thank you.
The Michigan contingent in here next, and then our players will be in here after.